Welcome back. You're listening to Final Extra on talkSPORT 2. Ade Oladipo, the great Gareth Davies. All right, the big news that broke this week was that Queensbury, Frank Warren's Queensbury Promotions, is going to take his stable to DAZN. Obviously, Queensbury have been long aligned to BT Sports and TNT for the last 7 years, but that will no longer be the case come the 1st of April 2025. He will now fight under the same banner as Matchroom, same banner as Golden Boy, and DAZN now certainly the biggest broadcaster when it comes to boxing in the world with that stable of fighters. This wasn't a surprise to many in the industry. We all saw this coming, but it was maybe a surprise to fight fans who probably thought, okay, that we're forever going to see Frank on TNT and forever see Matchroom on DAZN. Before we get into sort of the ins and outs of it, Gareth, and what it means, are you surprised it's happened?
Well, no, because I've been hearing about it behind the scenes. It's been a kind of open secret in boxing until the revelation, certainly with Boxing Insiders. So these talks have been going on for a year. And no, I'm not surprised because certainly since the elision and entente cordiale between Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn, since that happened, and the work that both are doing with Turki Al Sheikh, His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh, and the Saudi Arabian involvement, the fact that there have been 3 broadcasters at several events around the Riyadh season that we've been involved in, and that notwithstanding, I think DAZN has been the platform of progress because it's now coming into its own in the digital era. 6 years ago, when it launched in New York, and I was there at the launch with Bellator at the time and with Eddie and Scott Coker, it really did look like it was too far ahead of its time. But 6 years on, it's really starting to make strides. And I think it is an entity in itself. Like Riyadh season, everybody knows what DAZN or DAZN or DAZN, DAZN is, all the names it has. Everybody knows what it is now. And they know that it's a fulcrum for boxing. And I will get into this in a minute. But no, I'm not surprised at all because the several iterations that I mentioned earlier that I've known Frank Warren, ITV, Sky Sports, his own channel, Box Nation TV, that's coming back as well, and TNT, BT Sport, TNT, Setanta as well, by the way, Setanta, and now DAZN, doesn't surprise me. Frank has been in the sport and adopted and adapted for a very long time, and he's an incredible survivor in life and in the sport.
Yeah, no, and you are correct with regards to, I think, maybe 5 or 6 years ago when DAZN sort of first came into the sort of public eye, if you like, for a lot of fight fans. It was maybe too early for some. Some people didn't quite understand it. Like, why would I want to fight on an app? And some fighters refused to fight on it, and some people poo-pooed on it, for want of a better word. Now, though, I think everyone realizes it's almost the way to go. And it almost seems to make sense right now for Frank Warren as well. Obviously, Eddie and Frank have patched things up, which is good for fight fans. They've worked with each other for the last year. The events have been really good. We're seeing fighters fight on different platforms. Shabazz Massoud is a matchroom fighter fighting on TNT recently. So I think it paves the way for really exciting fights as well now. There are no more hurdles. And I think it's a great thing for British fight fans. I really do.
Remember the term, when I first started writing about DAZN, it was called an OTT platform, an over-the-top platform. And that expression's gone now. But look how we all consume now. Many people have a thing called the Fire Stick, don't they? They have a digital TV. DAZN is on all those platforms. DAZN is even on Sky, remember? You can get DAZN on the Sky platform. So what they've done very skillfully, and Sir Len Blavatnik is a very bright man, whatever he is, the 3rd richest man in Britain, worth 50 billion. He invests in the arts, he invests in sports. His Perform group have become very much a sporting entity. And I think what DAZN have done very cleverly, and you may not agree with all of this, but I think I understand I think I'm very open-minded about fight sports. I understand. When they first launched, we had tournaments at Bellator. I was working with Bellator as talent at the time, and they had tournaments, heavyweight tournaments, welterweight tournaments, featherweight tournaments. DAZN invested heavily in that. They've invested in bare knuckle. They've invested in Misfits. They've got the whole panoply, and that over the top OTT, that over the top platform is what they are. People are consuming digitally now, so whatever they do digitally, people are interested. Now they've got the triumvirate of three of the big 6 promoters in the world on their platform. They can manage a hell of a lot of big fights during the year, and the Riyadh season, Saudi Arabian connection as well. If they have, it wouldn't surprise me that you've got to pay your, whatever it is, $19.99 in the UK. There may be 6 pay-per-views in the year, but I don't think they'll be extraordinarily expensive. I think it gives Queensbury the platform to be global now as well, which I think is interesting. So they could expand their stable more globally. I agree with you to finish. It's good for British boxing fans because you know where you can consume it. 185 events, they told me yesterday. 2 DAZN executives told me yesterday, Peter Oliver and Alfie Sharman at the lunch, were 185 boxing events. Boxing is a huge thing for DAZN. It's the template. Because when boxing's big, this is an old adage from sport, from all the old sports editors in my time growing up. When horse racing is big, when football is big, and when boxing is big, everyone comes from the mainstream to watch it.
All right, let me play devil's advocate here, because obviously we've gone positive. Let's possible negatives. I know people that are very, very casual boxing fans.
Yeah.
And they find out about boxing because they watch football on TNT, and then the cross promotion happens.
Yeah.
And so you have your TNT presenters that will say on Saturday night, don't forget Liam Davies takes on Shabazz Massoud. I saw it. I actually, watched those promotions as well. We don't get that. We don't get that anymore. So how are the casuals going to dip their toes into boxing when they don't know it's on? They normally get that fix from Sky Sports or from TNT. DAZN don't have that.
Well, I agree with you that it does suffer in a way, but what will happen is the mainstream fight fans will come to the 6 big fights of the year, which is what always happens in boxing anyway. But they will know about it because it's out there. It's out there on social media. So, like you say, there is a risk. There is a risk. There's a reward right now, but there is a risk in doing it. I'm not a big football fan. Well, I am a football fan because I watch the big football events. But I think when someone like yourself or other people who ask questions about the validity and the veracity of doing it this way and whether it will grow and whether it will mushroom and augment, is because you know the mindset of the football fan. And so it's great to stage a massive fight night at the end of a FA Cup final or at the end of a big football game because everyone's up and hungry and they've watched a game, they're thrilled from the soccer match, from the football game, and then they want something for the evening. If there's a big fight on, let's do that as well. And I get it. But I don't know, again, I don't know if the world's shifting. Frank Warren will have his reasons for going, and I think digital is coming into its own. That's the plus,
Okay. One more, again, slight negative: competition.
Yeah,
I almost feel
this
like
is the big one.
Yeah, I almost feel like Frank on TNT has pushed Matchroom on DAZN to levels that I think Frank's almost turned into godlike in the last couple of years. He's gone kaboom. I think the competition has been really, really good for DAZN and Matchroom and Queensbury and TNT. That competition is now null and void. So what about competition? DAZN are going to be the complete, almost like a monopoly of boxing. That's not good, is it? We need a bit of competition. No?
Well, I agree. It's very, very important. I think if you had all 6 promoters on one platform the only way you could create competition is between each other on the platform. So you create a league and you keep doing those 5v5s or 10v10s, and you say to you're on this platform, I want you to get certain fighters in certain weight divisions, and I want you against each other. Because the rivalry between Warren and Hearn, yes, is jovial, and Eddie can take it, and he's got big boots. And a big ego, but and a very fine ego, but big boots, and he can take it. He can take the belt strap from Frank. He can lose the belts from Frank in that way and still regain them. But I agree with you, and I do feel that, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere. The template for DAZN, and maybe they will at some point. They've got the money, Ade, to maybe have some Premier League on there, to have some Champions League. And they've got Serie A on there, haven't they? They've got La Liga. So I do think they're not talking about it yet, and they don't want to give the game away. But look what Amazon have done with having football on there, having Premier League, and also bringing on Premier Boxing Champions. So we may end up with Amazon with Top Rank and Premier Boxing Champions and some football, and Ben Shalom's on Peacock. Maybe he'll go there with Boxer. What will Sky do now? It'll be interesting. But maybe, and the sensible mind will tell you that at some point, DAZN will get into football big time. I think they will. I don't know what you think, but I think it might make sense for them at some point.
Yeah, I think that's the bigger play or the bigger picture down the road. Obviously, look, their focus has been boxing because maybe boxing's easier to get their hands around. But I think the bigger play, especially in this country, has to be Premier League football or at least Championship football.
Yeah. But no, I think Premier League. I think the top level, and maybe it's only. What would be sensible?
Well, I mean,
50
you mentioned
games
Amazon.
a year, 100 games a year. What
Maybe not even that. I mean, Amazon only have 2 or 3 dates in December. So it could just be that where they get a small sort of catalog of games and then eventually become bigger and bigger and bigger. But they need to get something. It's key, I think.
And also, of course, don't Amazon have 500 million? Is that they've got the biggest subscriber base in the UK? Apparently, I think it is for any online platform. So, I get it. It's all evolving. That's the thing. That's what I've learned over time with these fascinating things is that when something kicks off, when DAZN kicked off in New York in 2018, and Joe Markowski was not there anymore, who was brilliant for DAZN. What they were talking about, we're going to do the guerrilla warfare, they called it, the guerrilla warfare of broadcasting. And they needed to do that. And I think what I've noticed over the years is, and Frank Warren mentioned this yesterday, when we went to Sky, everyone said it'd be the end of boxing. No one was going to watch it. And look what they did. Look what they built with the likes of Ricky Hatton and so on. One of the most popular boxers ever in the UK. The Sky Sports News helped. I often think that DAZN, rather like Setanta did, if they had a rolling news channel that was free to air online,
that's what they need.
I know.
A 24-hour rolling news channel is what they need, and then all of a sudden.
I worked for BT Sport for 6 years doing the UFC, presenting the UFC for 6 years with Caroline Pierce between 2013 and 2019. And I always said, let's get it all online, but let's have a rolling free news channel online. But Setanta had that, and it built a huge audience in Ireland. And when you go to Ireland, you've always got millions of fans there, particularly of the UFC, because you could literally watch it free. So there you go. It's all out there.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.